Okay, if you were with me for A, we're on to B. If you're just joining me with B, we're doing the ultimate A to Z of business English idioms from my book. I'm walking you through from A to Z. We're on B right now, and I'm going to give you 300 plus essential business English idioms. Let's jump right in. Okay, I've got my big fat book here. In English, when we say a fat book, it's a positive thing. It's a big book. If it's fat, it's positive. So I got my big fat book here. We're on B, Essential Business English Idioms, starting with B. Okay, let's jump right in. The very first one is back to the drawing board. Now, back to the drawing board is nice because we can also say back to square one. There's two idioms, pretty much the same meaning. Back to the drawing board, back to square one. I'm going to read you the meaning and the example here. Back to the drawing board, to start over because the previous attempt failed. Okay, example, the client didn't like the design, so it's back to the drawing board. So back to the drawing board, you do something, it's not a success, you have to go right back to the very beginning and start again from scratch. Start again from the beginning. So back to the drawing board. And again, you'll see next here, again, if you're listening just to the podcast, don't worry. If you want, you can save this podcast, come back to it, look at the video. If you have my book at home, follow with the book. If not in the video, I'm going to pop the page of my book up right next to my video so you can read along with it. So back to square one, start over from the beginning. So we did something, it didn't work out, back to the drawing board, back to square one. So, for example, a company is going to launch a new line of pens, and they tried to go with a new type of cap, but the cap was getting lost. People were complaining it was breaking. Okay, back to the drawing board. We have to completely reinvent that cap. Cap is the top of a pen, by the way. If you don't know that word, cap is the top of a pen or lid. Back to the drawing board. You have a big project. You present it to the client of how you're going to follow through and provide them with the service of what they need on this project. The client is not happy. They're not interested. Okay, back to the drawing board, back to square one. We have to completely scrap means throw out, and redo everything that we've done because they didn't like it. So we're back to the very beginning and we start from the bottom again. You're applying for a position. Perhaps you want to apply for a position a little bit higher than you're used to, in a different field than you're used to, with a different type of format for your CV than you usually do. And maybe you've had no success with those applications. Okay, it's back to the drawing board, back to square one. You have to go right down again and redevelop your CV, redevelop your plan, redevelop what you're applying for. So start again right from the beginning. It's a fantastic one. This is used a lot in sales meetings, in marketing meetings, in innovative meetings, in development meetings, in IT meetings, any meeting where any meeting or field where you're developing something. And if something's not progressing and it's not going to be successful, right, just get rid of the whole thing, go right back to the beginning, back to square one, back to the drawing board, and then redo it. Okay, so that was two together. Now we're down to ballpark or ballpark figure. These are synonyms. Ballpark, the meaning is an approximate or rough estimate. I'll read you my example here. Our staff is in the ballpark of 500. It just means approximately. At ballpark, again, a lot of idioms come from sports, gambling, military, agriculture. This one comes from sports. Ballpark, it's where you play baseball. So a ballpark means approximately. So when will the project be finalized? I'm not too sure. Ballpark, end of month. Could be a beginning of the next month. It could be mid-month. But I'm saying ballpark, approximately. How many hours do you need to complete this task? Ballpark 20. Could be 25. It could be 15. I don't know. It's approximate. So if you're in a meeting and you don't have figures in front of you, you could say the ballpark figures are this. And by saying ballpark, it just means approximately. So people don't expect you to be exact because you're telling them this is an approximate estimation or an approximate figure. It's fantastic. Ballpark. Okay, next one, balls in your court. Now, if you're following my videos and if you're following my pages, you're probably upper intermediate to advanced level English speaking. So this means you're already doing business. I'm sure you've heard this idiom before, balls in your court. This is one of the most common business English idioms. It comes from tennis. If I'm playing tennis and you're playing tennis, I have my court, you have your court. In the middle is the net. When I hit the ball's no longer in my court, it's in your court, which means it's your turn to take action or do something. That's all it means in business English. It's incredibly useful, incredibly common, incredibly powerful. It just means your turn to act, your turn to do something, your turn to make a decision, your turn to take action. Whatever the case may be, your turn, not my turn. Or if it is my turn, I can say the ball's in my court. Usually, though, we use it with the other person. Let me read you my meaning, an example here from the book. Meaning, it's someone else's turn to take action or make a decision. I just said. Example, I've submitted my CV, so now the ball's in their court. Yeah, you submit a CV, you're hoping to apply for a job, you're waiting for a phone call or an email or a message. The ball's in their court. You submitted your CV, there's nothing else you can do. You just sit back and wait their turn to take action. Or we've been negotiating with a couple different service providers. We sent out our last request for a lower price. Now the ball's in their court if they will respond to the amount that we want. So it's their time to make a decision, their time to take an action. We're waiting for them to do something. Or I've worked with this team a lot. They need more support next week. I'm too busy with other projects. The ball's in your court. So can you please step in? It's your turn to take action on this. So ball's in your court, your responsibility, your decision, your time to take action. This is a great one. Okay, next one, bank on. Oh, I love this one, bank on. Bank on means you're putting all your money. Imagine you're in Las Vegas, or if you're watching a James Bond film, and someone takes all their money, all their chips, and they put it on one number of the roulette. And you're thinking, who does that? That's crazy. Well, they're banking on 32 red, if that's how roulette's played. I'm not a gambler, but they're banking on 32, for example, that's just a number, coming up when the ball goes around the roulette table. So to bank on means you're depending on something to happen. So to bank on is to depend on something. I'm going to give you some examples here. So meaning bank on, to rely on something or someone to achieve a particular outcome or to expect something to happen with confidence. Just like if you're in the movies or in a casino and you put all of your money on one number, I mean, you're relying on that number to be where the ball lands on the roulette table, for example. So you're completely depending on it. A good example here is we're banking on the holiday sales to meet our revenue goals this quarter. Okay, so our revenue sales have not been very high, but we're depending on the holiday sales. During the holiday, we make a lot of money. We're banking on that to bring up our sales for the year. So, for example, we can use bank on in positive or negative. Maybe you're having after work dinner with colleagues, and you invite everyone in the office or everyone on your team. And you can say, well, don't bank on Peter. He's got a newborn at home. It just means don't depend on Peter coming. Don't expect Peter to come. He's got a newborn at home. He's probably going to head home straight after work. Or we're really banking on this client to sign with us next year. They've been a great client throughout the years. We're banking on them to sign with us next year, which means all of our forecasts, all of our projections going forward to the next year has that client in them. So we're really banking, we're relying on them to continue with us. So to bank on, again, just think of Las Vegas or any kind of gambling when someone would put all their money on one number and they lose all their money or they have great success. if that one thing comes up. That's what it is to bank on. It's a great one. This is really common, very useful. Um, in this podcast, go ahead and throw down in the comments any of these idioms and put into a sentence. And I will go through and I'll read the comments. So if you want to use bank on in a sentence to make sure you've understood it correctly, go ahead and give a little example sentence down there. And I will look at the comments and I'll make sure you're using it correctly. Okay, next one is beat around the bush. Now, a bush is a small little tree, like a hedge. You know, if you have some nice larger houses or buildings and they have a fence that's made out of trees, short little trees, well, those trees are called bushes. And to beat around the bush is as if you're kind of hiding behind those bushes. Basically, what it means is you're not speaking directly. So to beat around the bush is you want to go to your boss saying, I work very hard. I've brought in this much business. I deserve a raise. I want a raise. But you can't really say that. You can't really speak so directly. In some situations, you're going to beat around the bush. Okay, manager Maria, I've done quite a lot this year with these sales and I've brought in this much business and I'd really appreciate having more revenue coming in going forward and more support from the company. I'm hoping to up my income. Well, you were beating around the bush right there. That's beating around the bush. You're not speaking directly. Sometimes we need to beat around the bush. Sometimes we don't need to beat around the bush. And it's usually quite frustrating when someone is listening to us speak or we're listening to someone speak and people are beating around the bush because we want people to speak directly. But there's a level of politeness. Sometimes we can't do it. So, example, beat around the bush to avoid speaking directly. Example, stop beating around the bush and telling me what the problem is. So again, someone comes to your office going, oh, you've got a bit of a problem. I don't want to worry you, but, and you're like, well, stop beating around the bush. What's the problem? So someone's kind of avoiding talking directly and you say, stop beating around the bush. What's the problem? Or if you're having a team meeting and you need to talk to your staff about maybe people slacking off a little bit. Slacking off means not working as hard as they should be working. This is where the app Slack comes from, because Slack means relaxed, because it's a relaxed way of communicating with employees and colleagues. Anyways, so you have a meeting and a team meeting and all the managers are together talking about some staff member, they're slacking off a little bit. And the top manager can say, listen, talk to your team, but don't beat around the bush. Say if people are slacking off, people will lose their jobs. So don't beat around the bush, speak directly. So this is great to tell someone to speak directly, stop beating around the bush. Okay, next one is to bend over backwards. This is great. I'm going to read the meaning first and then I'll give you the examples. To bend over backwards, to make substantial effort to help or accommodate someone. So to bend over backwards, to bend over backwards, it's not easy for anyone to bend over unless you're a gymnast, to bend over backwards. So what you're doing is you're making an extra effort, usually at your expense. So you are trying harder than usual, you're doing more than usual, you're absorbing costs, you're working over hours in order to make someone happy. So to bend over backwards, we'll need to bend over backwards to impress this particular client. So you have 10 different clients, but client number 7 is really, really difficult to please. So you have to do more for this certain client. So maybe other clients don't need to have that chocolate box or bouquet of flowers sent for New Year's, but this client you do. So you're going to take on more costs. Or we need to bend over backwards. They're going to have a couple extra requests that other clients don't request of us. Fine, we just have to do it. So to bend over backwards, think of bending over backwards as if you're a gymnast going backwards. It's not easy. It's uncomfortable. It requires extra effort. So when you bend over backwards, you do more than, it's like going above and beyond. That's for my podcast on Idioms with A, like going above and beyond, doing more than is expected of you. But to bend over backwards is you're going above and beyond, doing more than is expected of you, but then you're also putting in more effort or it's costing you something, whether it's it's time or money or effort or whatever it may be. That's to bend over backwards. If you are interviewing and maybe you're going for a role that's client facing and they ask about how you deal with customers who are quite difficult, you can say, I don't mind bending over backwards for the customer if it's going to help them be happy or satisfied with our product or service. So to bend over backwards, if you're in a client facing or customer facing position, bending over backwards is very good. Mind you, if you bend over backwards for everyone, you're going to burn yourself out. So business advice, don't bend over backwards for everyone, but do it when it's necessary. Okay, next one. Now you'll notice that in my book here, I've got some different little features here. And this is just when I wrote my book, I couldn't just add in just idioms because there's so many more great words that we need. So what I have here at the very top is bigwig. And bigwig just describes a very important person, a VIP. These are movers and shakers of our world, of our industries, of our companies. So imagine centuries ago, if you were a very important man in business or in the world or in society, you would have a big wig. Wig is fake hair. So you'd have one of those big white curly wigs. The bigger your wig, as far as I understand from history, any historians there, correct me if I'm wrong, the bigger your wig, the more important you were. So this is a big wig. So even though this is a really, really, really old term, we use this nowadays like all the time to talk about people who are influential and essential and major players in their industry. Okay, I'm going to read some examples here. All the company bigwigs attended the annual conference. So all the influential, important people attended the conference. She got a promotion after impressing one of the industry bigwigs. So she impressed one of the VIPs and she got a promotion. That's a bigwig. The event was full of political bigwigs and business executives. So you go to an event and it's full of movers and shakers. Movers and shakers is also VIPs, very important people. Bigwigs, it's a great synonym there. Okay, back to our idioms. We have between a rock and a hard place. Well, if you're between a rock, imagine a big rock, it's a boulder, and you're between that big rock, that boulder, and a brick wall. Well, the brick wall is a hard place, and that boulder, that big rock, is a hard place. You have no options of anything comfortable or easy to do. So between a rock and a hard place just means you're in a situation where all of your options are awful. All of your options are difficult. You're not in a situation where there's like a clear way out or a clear, easy route. Everything's difficult. I'll read you the meaning here and the example that I have in my book. Okay, between a rock and a hard place, to be in a difficult situation where both options or all options are unfavorable. Example, we're between a rock and a hard place with this decision. Okay, so perhaps your company is losing money year after year after year. So now you're in the situation, either you get rid of means to fire half of your workforce, or you completely file for bankruptcy or close down your company and stop doing business. So both options are awful and horrible, but those are the only options you have. So that means you're between a rock and a hard place. So anytime you're in a position where you have no good option, no good route to take, A, B, C, D, E, F, all the way to Z, they're all horrible. This is between a rock and a hard place. So you're burnt out at work, you're unhappy at work, you're stressed at work, you hate your job, but there's nothing available. There's no vacancies out there in your industry, at your pay scale, with your skills. So you don't have any options. You're between a rock and a hard place. You don't have an easy option of what to do. That's exactly what it means. And if you're in that situation, I feel for you. I'm sorry for you. Those are horrible situations to be in. And they always work out. We always find our way through the rock and the hard place. We always do. Okay, next one is bite the bullet. This is a really common one. This one comes from military. And if a soldier is injured on the field or out there in military and they don't have the medicine, they don't have the numbing to take away the pain, then they'll literally would have given him a bullet, like a bullet from a gun to bite onto, like that. And then they'll perform surgery. So basically, this is where it comes from. But to bite the bullet means you just have to deal with a very difficult situation. You can't do anything about it. So you work for a large manufacturer, and one of your main machines has completely died. It cannot be fixed. The major machine on the production line needs to be replaced. That machine is 50,000 euros. Well, you have to bite the bullet and you have to buy a new machine. Otherwise, you just can't make money. You can't run your company. So you just have to deal with the difficult situation. Nothing you can do about it. Your former manager, who was a fantastic manager, has left the company. The new manager has come on. You do not like this manager, but you have to keep your job and you like your job. So you have to bite the bullet and learn to deal with and learn to become friendly and work with this new manager. Just deal with a difficult situation. You're giving a presentation and your presentation slides have all been corrupted. You can't download them. Nothing can happen. They're not in the cloud. They're nowhere to be found. But you have an auditorium full of major people and there's 150 people waiting for your presentation. You have to bite the bullet and go out there and talk, even though you don't have your presentation ready. So it just means you're in a difficult situation, but you have to just go through that situation. That's what it means to bite the bullet. No one likes these situations, but this is where they are. So we had bite the bullet, between a rock and a hard place, both pretty negative. Now we have bite off more than you could chew. This is one of my favorite business English idioms, or even just regular idiom. We use it in regular English as well, but it's so useful in business English because it's so easy for anyone to understand. Even if no one has heard this idiom before, anyone's going to understand this. It probably translates really well to different languages. So imagine a delicious sandwich. That sandwich looks so good. I'm going to bite off more of that sandwich than I can chew. So this just means you've taken on too much work, too much responsibility, too many tasks, or you've gone above your area of expertise, or you've gone above your skill. But you haven't taken on more or gone above your area because you're stupid. It's because you're eager and enthusiastic. So this is really, really useful if you're in a situation where you realize, I cannot complete all these tasks, or this is above what I can do. You can just say, I've bitten off more than I can chew. And it means, I was really eager and enthusiastic to get involved in this. This is more than I can handle. Whether, again, the skills are too high, you don't have those skills, or it's just you don't have the time to do it. So to bite off more than you can chew is very positive. It's a positive way of saying, I took on too much, or I've taken on too much. I can't complete it. Either it's too difficult for me, I don't have the skills for it, or it's just too many things to do. I don't have enough time. I'll read you the example here and the meaning as well. So meaning, bite off more than you can chew, to take on more work or responsibility than you can manage. Example, don't bite off more than you can chew by accepting multiple projects at once. Haven't we all done this? It's really hard to say no sometimes, right? When you're new with a company, building up your career, and sometimes we can all be there going, oh boy, what did I do? I bit off more than I can chew, saying yes to too many things. You learn over time to say no. Okay, next one is blank check. Now, the synonym for blank check is carte blanche. Carte blanche just means blank check, same thing. It means you have complete freedom to do something. I'm going to read you the example and the meaning here. Blank check or carte blanche, unlimited freedom or resources to do as you wish. So an example would be sales has a blank check for ads. Ads is short for advertisements. So to have a blank check means sales can do whatever they want. There's no restrictions on what they can do for their ads, or there's no budget restrictions for ads. So perhaps you're a VP of finance interviewing for a new company. And you say, listen, I don't really like what you've been doing. I don't like your financial structure. Fine. So the HR manager will say, don't worry, as VP of finance, you'll have a blank check for finance within our company, which means you have full control. No one's going to control what you're doing. You have full freedom and full control on what you want to do. So that's a blank check. Or when it comes to graphic design, the graphic design team has a complete blank check on this new ad campaign we're doing. So there's going to be no major limitations. They can do whatever they want, and they have full freedom on that. So blank check is great. So you can ask for the blank check on something. So for example, you're preparing a New Year's party for your company and say, listen, what's the budget? Good. Do I have a blank check? Yeah, I have a blank check, which that means you can do whatever you want. You can do team building, you can do an office party, you can do a restaurant, you can do a destination party, whatever you want. They've given you a blank check, or you can ask for a blank check for that. Blank check is a good one. And again, synonym would be carte blanche. Last one here on this page is blind side. Now, blind side, if you're blind, you cannot see, and side is the side. So to blindside means you're going to completely surprise someone. So when you're driving your car, you know, when you look over your shoulder, you check your mirrors, those are your blind spots, spots you cannot easily see around you. So if you're blindsided or you blindside someone, you completely surprise them. They could not see you coming, a complete surprise. I'll read you the meaning and example here. Meaning to surprise or catch someone off guard, usually in a negative way. And yes, it is usually negative. And an example, they were blindsided by the sudden sell-off of their shares. So a company's listed and people started selling off shares. And if this came as a complete surprise, you say, we were blindsided. If you walk into your manager's office and he goes, please have a seat, sorry, we're letting you go. Letting you go is a nice way to say fired. We're letting you go. And if you had no idea this was coming, you'd say, wow, I'm completely blindsided. Or why are you blindsiding me? Why didn't you give me warning before? Or the manager could say, I'm so sorry to blindside you, but we're going to let you go, which again, let go means fired. So to blindside means you're completely surprising someone, or if they blindside you, you've been completely surprised by them. So again, if you have increased costs for production for your product, for example, and you need to raise prices for clients, well, you're not just going to raise the prices for them next shipment. No, you want to give them a warning. Let's not blindside the clients with raising the prices. Let them know that our current prices are going to be relevant and valid for the next 4 months, but the next shipment, the prices will go up. So now you're not blindsiding them, you're not surprising them with negative news. Okay, so I couldn't touch on B idioms without putting together a little bit of a warning for anyone learning business English or English as a second language about the term bi-weekly. Again, if you're watching my videos, I'm sure you already know this term bi-weekly or you use it at work bi-weekly, but bi-weekly has a lot of confusion associated with it. Now, this confusion and different meaning in biweekly is not about British English or American English at all. Biweekly, 80% of the time, 80% of the time means every 2 weeks. So twice a month, 80% of the time. However, and I mean 80, I'm saying like 75 to 80% of the time. However, 25 to 20% of the time, biweekly means twice a week. Look it up. Get a dictionary, go into Google. Biweekly has the two different meanings. It could mean 2 times a month or twice a week. So if you're working with global teams, be very careful with biweekly, because biweekly for one company or one person can mean every 15 days. And biweekly for another person could be Tuesdays and Thursdays. So be very careful. Unless I know what it means, meaning I share a calendar with someone and I know what they mean from their bi-weekly meeting, or let's get together bi-weekly, that's fine. If I can see from a calendar they mean twice a week, fine. Or if I see from a calendar or from a schedule that they mean 2 times in a month, fine. But if I can't see that, I avoid this word at all costs. Just say twice a week or twice a month. just avoid the confusion. So there you go, a little bit of warning there for you. Anyways, back to our idioms with B. We're on the next page here, and we've got 4 to go on this page, and then we'll go through a dialogue like I did with A, and we'll go through a little bit of review as well. Okay, let's jump right in. Next one is bring to the table. Now, bring to the table is really common and very useful and very powerful. This is fantastic for interviewing or if you are an interviewer. So if you're the one asking questions, this is a fantastic uh, idiom for you. If you're in an interview, this is a great one for you to say to present yourself. So bring to the table is what you're bringing to a company, what you're contributing. Let me read the example and the meaning here, and I'll give you some more examples with bring to the table. Okay, bring to the table, meaning to contribute something of value to a discussion or negotiation, or even just to a company. So she brings expertise to the table. So, for example, you're in a discussion, you're talking about what to do with maybe a failing product that's not selling very well. Okay, so let's bring in Paul. He brings to the table years of experience with company B, who's went through the same situation. So he's bringing in his expertise. And how I mentioned bring to the table is very useful when you're interviewing or you're an interviewer. Bring to the table means contribute. So, for example, you're in an interview and the interviewer asks, why should we hire you over other candidates? God, I hate that question. It's a horrible question, but they ask that question. So they ask, why should we hire you over someone else? You can say, I bring to the table 8 years of experience in this market. I bring to the table 3 languages. I bring to the table a track record of nonstop successes. Track record means experience, but bring to the table means what I'm going to contribute, what I'm going to bring to the company. And again, on the flip side, if you work in HR and you need to mix up your vocabulary a little bit more, if you're working in HR interviewing people, you can say, what do you bring to the table? What can you bring to the table in this department, in this role, with this company, in this team? So bring to the table means to contribute. It's fantastic. Again, anytime you're talking with someone and you want to see what they're going to contribute to a discussion, to negotiations. This is when bring to the table can change a little bit from just expertise to a contribution. So, for example, you're negotiating and you're negotiating perhaps with a supplier, and they want more money, and you're not willing to give them more money. And you say, well, what I can bring to the table is I'll sign on a contract with you for 2 years. Your usual contract's 1 year, so you're going to contribute. You're going to negotiate, give them a little bit more. So I'll bring this to the table. Or if you're negotiating between different law firms, for example, and this law firm A is fantastic and law firm B is fantastic, and their prices are the same and their experience is the same. Well, this law firm brings to the table experience outside of our country. And if we ever do expand globally, this is going to be helpful for us. So they can contribute a little bit more expertise. So brings to the table, quite a big definition there, but it just means it's what something or someone can contribute to a certain situation, department. Okay, next one is to bring in the big guns. Oh boy, this is a fun one. Okay, so bring in the big guns. A gun is a gun, a gun is a gun, right? Okay, so now again, so many idioms come from gambling, military, agriculture, and sports. This one obviously is from military. So if you have two sides fighting with small little guns, pew pew pew, small little guns, there's no real impact. Well, then you roll in the tank or you bring in the Uzi and the big guns. You bring in a big gun that's going to blow away your enemy. So to bring in the big guns is you're going to bring in people who can seal the deal, who can end the fight and the argument, who can end the negotiations. The big guns would be people who have the influence, the power, the skill, or the level to really start change. I'm going to read you the meaning and example here. Okay, bring in the big guns to use the most powerful resources or strategies to solve a problem or win. So bring in the big guns is usually people. Bring the big guns. It doesn't have to always be people. 95% of the time is bringing the big guns. This is people who can come right in and make some change. So for example, you're a team lead and your staff are not listening to you. Oh, I'm going to bring in the big guns. I'm going to bring in the regional manager, and that's going to scare them to listening to you. So, but bringing in the big guns sometimes could be, you can bring in a little bit of background from your company, which is going to strengthen negotiations. So you're negotiating with someone or with a client, and they're not really moving forward. Well, we'll bring in the big guns. Well, we did work with company, B, and this is going to impress them. So it's kind of a very impactful bit of information. Usually it is people, though, to bring in the big guns. Next one is to butter someone up. This is incredibly common. Okay, so let's say you have some toast and you put butter on the toast, and then you get a little bit of butter on your fingers, and then you go pick up your laptop and your laptop slides out of your hands and falls on the floor because you had butter on your fingers. So if you butter someone up, it makes them smoother and slippery, and you can do more with them. So what it means to butter someone up is you're going to flatter them, make them feel happy, make them feel good, to hopefully manipulate and move them and slide them in the direction where you want them. I'm going to read you the meaning and definition here. To butter someone up, to flatter someone to gain cooperation. Okay, the VP of sales usually butters up the clients with a round of golf before his pitch. This is very common in sales, very common in business. You want to butter somebody up. You want to flatter them. You want to flatter to say nice things about them. You want to flatter them. You want to treat them, take them out for dinner, take them on a business trip, take them to the spa, whatever you do with your clients, or a nice dinner. And you want to butter them up, and then they'll be more open and receptive to your sales pitch. This is used so much in sales. So to butter someone up could just be words. So again, you're interviewing. Why do you want to work for this company? Because I want a job? No, you can't say that. You have to tell the company what an amazing company they are, how you've dreamt and dreamed about working for this company for so long, how they're the greatest company in their field, and this is the best department of the best company in, right? I mean, you're going to go overboard flattering the company or the department or what the company produces or the service they provide. You're buttering them up, which is going to make them feel more open to you. It works. So this is to butter somebody up. Again, this works in sales. This works in any type of business. It definitely works in negotiations. It definitely works in interviewing. To butter someone up, you're going to make them feel very happy, very special, very flattered, very appreciated by you. So you can slide in your request, you can slide in what you want, and there's not friction, right? If you have butter in your hands, there's no friction there. So it's going to be very easy to butter somebody up. It's a fun one. Okay, and the very last one here I have with B is to buy into. I'm going to read the meaning and the example, and then I'll give more examples here. To buy into, to believe or support a plan or idea. We need the team to buy into the project. Otherwise, they won't put in the extra hours. So to buy into the project means they're going to invest. They're going to believe in the project. So to buy into something means you believe in something, as if you're taking your money and you're going to buy it. No, but you're taking your support and you're taking your belief and you're going to buy it. So you could have someone come to you and they're going to pitch a new service that they can provide for your company, and you can say, I'm not really buying into this. I don't think we need this. So this just means what they're selling, you're not really buying it. You don't believe that it's a necessity or necessary for your company. Or, yeah, I really bought into that. I think this is actually going to be quite useful for us. I think this really could incite change. This is going to be very helpful. I buy into it. I support it. I think it's great. So to buy into something is you support something. With buy into here is to believe or support an idea or plan. So again, this could be in a brainstorming session, and someone could come up with an idea and a totally crazy idea for next quarter for new innovations or new apps being developed. And if you think, wow, that's a great idea, yeah, you can say, yeah, I buy into that, or I can't buy into that. I don't think it's a good idea. So buy into means I support that plan or idea that you have. Okay, so we've done it. We've gone through all of our B's. Now we're going to go through here and we're going to do a little bit of a review conversation. So if you did watch or listen to my podcast with Essential Business English Idioms, starting with A, you're familiar with what I do here. I have a conversation and I've taken all the idioms out. I've put in regular idioms and I'm going to go through it and I'm going to have you try to guess which idioms could replace the regular words used there. And then I'll go through and give you the answers as well. Okay, first one is a review conversation between Pablo and Rosa. Rosa says, hey, Pablo, did you hear about the merger? Pablo replies, yes, Rosa, it looks like they're expecting it to fix everything, but I'm not so sure. So it looks like they're expecting it to fix everything. Try to think of an idiom meaning expecting, but we'll come back to it. Rosa responds, yes, and they keep avoiding speaking directly instead of telling us how it will affect us. Pablo replies, they want us to work and do extra to make it work, but we don't even know the plan. So work and do extra. Rosa responds, exactly. It's really frustrating. They're pitching it as the ideal situation, but it feels like we're in a situation where no option is ideal. So an ideal situation, can you think of an idiom that could replace that? And we're in a situation where no option is ideal. Think of an idiom starting with B, you just learned that could replace that one. Paolo responds, and now they're back to tweaking their projections. So we need to start from the beginning, I guess. Tweaking means to make subtle changes to something. But here the idiom is, we need to start from the beginning, I guess. So think of an idiom, start from the beginning. Now, Rosa responds, makes sense. Most of their numbers are just approximate figures anyway. Approximate. Think of an idiom meaning approximate. True, but eventually we'll have to endure the bad situation. The merger is happening no matter what. So endure a bad situation. Think of an idiom starting with B. Rosa responds, I just hope they don't take on more responsibility or tasks than they can handle. To take on more than you can handle. Pablo responds, agreed. And given the other company freedom with resources for change, that's risky. So freedom with resources or change. Okay, so now I'm going to read this whole conversation without stopping. Then I'm going to read it again with the idioms. Okay, from the top, here we go. Hey, Pablo, did you hear about the merger? Yes, Rosa. It looks like they're expecting it to fix everything, but I'm not so sure. Yes, they keep avoiding speaking directly instead of telling us how it will affect us. They want us to work and do extra to make it work, but we don't even know the plan. Exactly. It's really frustrating. They're pitching it as the ideal situation, but it feels like we're in a situation where no option is ideal. And now they're back to tweaking their projections, so we need to start from the beginning, I guess. Makes sense. Most of their numbers are just approximate figures anyway. True, but eventually we'll have to endure the bad situation. The merger's happening no matter what. I just hope they don't take on more responsibility or tasks than they can handle. Agreed. And giving the other company a freedom with resources for change, that's risky. Okay, that's the dialogue. Now I'm going to read this dialogue with all those idioms in there. Okay, let's see if you guessed most of them. That'd be great if you did. Here we go. Okay. Hey, Pablo, did you hear about the merger? Yes, Rosa, it looks like they're banking on it to fix everything, but I'm not so sure. Yes, they keep beating around the bush instead of telling us how it will affect us. They want us to bend over backwards to make it work, but we don't even know the plan. Exactly. It's really frustrating. They're pitching it as the best of both worlds, but it feels like we're between a rock and a hard place. And now they're back to tweaking their projections. So back to the drawing board, I guess. Makes sense. Most of their numbers are just ballpark figures anyway. True, but eventually we'll have to bite the bullet. The merger's going to happen no matter what. I just hope they don't bite off more than they can chew. Agreed. And giving the other company a blank check for change, that's risky. Okay, that was great. Hey, so we had a great normal dialogue talking about a merger happening in the company, and we were able to replace basic words with these great idioms. Okay, now let's go through here. We're going to look at some of these idioms. I have 6 idioms for you here. See if you can guess the meaning for them. First one, bring to the table. What's the meaning of bring to the table? To involve the experts or someone who has expertise in something to bring to the table. You're going to include or bring in resources. You're going to make a contribution. You bring to the table. Next one, bring in the big guns. Bring in the big guns. What does that mean? Bring in the big guns. You're going to bring in the people who can really incite and start change and make a difference. Bring in the big guns. So involve experts or powerful people to deal with or handle a situation. Next one, to butter someone up. We just did that one. That was at the end of B's. To butter someone up. To flatter someone to gain their cooperation or their favor. Get them to like you. To butter someone up. Next one, buy into. Buy into is to accept, believe, or support an idea or proposal. You buy into it or you don't buy into it. Blindside. Blindside. Blindside, to surprise or shock someone, especially with a negative bit of news or in a negative way. And last one, balls in your court. That was from the beginning of the B's. Balls in your court. Balls in your court, it means you're giving someone else responsibility in decision making or action. Balls in your court. It's your turn to do something. All right, we did it. We've gone through B.